This may be the most requested video I have done so far. I have had DMs, Discord posts, comments to my videos, and even seen quite a few Reddit posts of people venting their frustrations at their inability to rank up an Armored Core 6 PvP system. I have read the posts, I have watched the example videos, and people are wanting to know what they did wrong and how they can improve. Now, I do realize that I do not have as nearly as many hours as many other people may have in Armored Core 6. But I do have a little bit of a perspective, I think, as I'm a little over 320 hours into this game so far, and my time and the years of experience with all the previous AC titles, I think I'm able to speak to this a little bit. So, without further ado, 5 things that will help you not suck at PvP in Armored Core 6. Number 5, warm up first. Don't play ranked while cold. Now, I realize those people don't even probably think about this as being maybe something that would help them, but I have seen a lot of different gamers over the years. Between Armored Core, and you might notice from the fight sticks behind me, I love fighting games. I'm one of those people who I like to play cold. I like just hopping right into it and playing it, but I know most people aren't like that. There's muscle memory they've forgotten, there's things they gotta get into a certain mentality or methodology, whether the way their butt moves are, they forget to do certain things in their game plan, and the reason is because they came in cold. I think for a lot of people, you don't realize you may be one of these people. You're not one of those people who can just jump right into ranked and just start winning right away. There are people like that. I'm not saying I'm the guy who just goes in and wins, but I tend to do fairly well cold and in the middle, and I tend to not do as well towards the end of my gameplay sessions. So maybe you're one of those people. Maybe one of those people who don't even realize that you don't play as well the first few matches. My recommendation to you is to warm up first. Go into custom games, find some custom matches to play against, go into the arena and go fight Michigan, go do a couple boss fights. Honestly, the air fight's a pretty good warm-up in my opinion. It'll kind of keep you on your toes. So do something to kind of get you in the, your mode or your gaming system or in whatever your brain needs to be mentality-wise to get you to actually properly play this game. And I think after doing that for maybe like 10-15 minutes first, and then go into ranked, it actually could make a difference. Number 4, check your energy efficiency. Don't go below 3K. Now look, you may notice this is probably the only one I'm going to have on this entire list that's going to talk specifically about how you should be designing your AC. You're not going to use these weapons, use these frame parts. You're not going to get that from me. I don't think that's part of Armored Core's, so we say, shtick and how you should play the game. I think everyone should play the game their own way. Number 1, maybe a little bit of a spoiler for that one. But energy efficiency is something I am noticing quite a bit. There's 2 things in this game that are very important. The number 1 being energy management. Energy management has been like the, shall we say, the king of the crop as far as your ability to properly play this game. It was true in the older gen games, it was true in 3rd gen, not as true in 4th or 5th, although 5th a little bit with a scan mode shenanigans. But you get the point though. In 6, not any different. What you have in this game is you have a stat check line, and one of those is EN efficiency. Now, the higher this number is, the faster your energy will recharge upon you stop using your energy. The reason why this is so important is that your energy is what you do to move. That's how you dodge, that's how you get your movement around, that's how you catch up to people who are running away from you. And if this number is below a certain amount, your energy is essentially always depleted. Now, the reason why I say this number is 3,000. Some people say you can go 2,000. I prefer around the 3,000 mark. This is why. I am fully willing to admit that I fall into a trap sometimes where I get kind of, if I get stuck in a corner or I'm being pressured too much, that I'll start spamming quick boost more than I should, which by the way is really bad on wheelchair because wheelchair has terrible booster efficiency. So I definitely shouldn't be doing that. But that being the case, I tend to do that. So I have purposely designed my ACs to not go below that 3,000 energy efficiency rate so it can be a little more forgiving. I've looked at some of these example ACs and I've built them in the AC to see what they're running, and I've seen them, they're on like 2K, 1.8K. I'm like, man, it's no wonder they're having a hard time, because any little mistake they make with their movement or their energy consumption, they're just going to lose and die. So if you're not going to be able to be disciplined enough to do proper energy management, which many of us are not really, I'm okay at it, but I fully admit I'm not the best. So design your AC, try to get yourself at least 3,000, energy efficiency, 3K energy efficiency, and you might see a huge difference in your ability to play the game because it'll be a little more forgiving on your ability to recharge. So yeah, check your EN efficiency. It could actually help. Number 3, check your frame rate. Do not go below 60 FPS. Now, I have shared before in my Armored Core news videos of this little clip from Twitter where there are people going back and forth, one running at 30 FPS, one at 60 FPS, circling, strafing around each other, flying dual Etsujins. I'll probably put the clip up here just so you can see as an example. What you're going to see here is that you have one running at 30 FPS and one running at 60. As you may notice, the one running at 30 is not hitting nearly as often. As tested before, the frame rate in this game actually can affect your accuracy in the game, meaning you're missing shots because of it. I actually had multiple comments in that Armored Core news video where people were telling me they adjusted their gain so their frame rate would be higher, and sure enough, their shots were landing a lot more often. In fact, a lot of them actually made huge improvements in their gameplay simply by making that simple adjustment. And it's even more tellable if you get up to 90 and 120. So yeah, your frame rate matters. And this also includes consoles. I'm working on a video right now with some other people, and we've already confirmed this is the case inside PSN between PS4 and PS5. There are some frame rate differences there, and with that being the case, there actually is some accuracy differences too, which is crazy to me. And right now I have the Xbox side also testing this as well. So this is a pretty significant difference. So if you're running on PC, if you're running on consoles, probably not as much you can do about this other than maybe changing out your TV or something if you have an older TV. But yeah, try to get yourself at least at 60 FPS, if not higher on PC. Lower your graphics, it won't make that much of a difference as far as the game looks. Honestly, even at lower graphics, this game still looks pretty good. And it could actually completely change how accurate your weapons are. So yeah, try to get 60 FPS or higher. It can make a big difference. Number 2, take breaks. Seriously, don't rage play. I cannot tell you how many people I've seen playing this game and just the shrieks of frustration while I'm watching on streams or watching on videos. I can feel the tone of frustration in their Reddit posts, and it pains me that they're struggling so hard in this game. And what I'm finding is that you're not enjoying it. I have found the case in most games. Now, there are those rare instances where rage gamers just unlock some special level when they're super angry, they play really good. Honestly, that's not most people. You're probably not one of those people. It's not most people. You need to take a break. I've seen people who go in severe struggle sessions in the game where they'll go on, they'll play one set of promos and they'll fail, and they'll get back to promos, they'll do promos again, and then they'll fail, and they'll go back into promos, and they'll fail again. It's like, dude, after the second or third set of promos, you should just be taking a break for now. Go do something else. That is not good for your mental state. So I have been there. If you watch my stream where I got S rank in singles for the first time, it was a struggle. I did 3 in a row. That was a mistake. I shouldn't have done it. But on the third try, I did end up getting it. That's it. And that was first season. So you look at this here. Even on this season right now, it took me, I think, 6 tries to get into ranked singles on S rank. Even though I had very little to go because I was already at A3 from S rank the previous time. And I found when I was frustrated, I wasn't playing as good. I made more mistakes. I did more stupid tactics. I wasn't paying attention to my game plans, and I wasn't watching my energy efficiency, as you might have seen in the previous point. It's a problem. So I would recommend personally, after your second or third promo failure in a row, especially if it's in a single PlayStation, it's time to turn the game off and step away for a little bit and come back. Come back later to that game. If you've calmed down enough, sure, maybe come back the next day or two. It's not worth. You don't want the game to become a tax on you as opposed to something you're enjoying playing. Armored Core is a lot. There's a lot to think about. You gotta think about your positioning, your movement, your FCS, your weapon usage, the reload timings, what your enemy's using, their refresh rate, and all their enemy timings. All those things matter. So there's a lot of mental taxing going on in your brain while playing Armored Core. This is not an easy game. Do not forget, there were a whole bunch of reviewers who got stuck at the helicopter or at Balteus and couldn't properly review this game before the game came out. There's a reason why I got called the filter copper. There's a reason that's a thing. So yeah, this game is not a simple game for most players. Now people are like, "Well, we've all us old Ravens. This is simple for us." Yeah, if you know, for you know that's the case. But guess what? You've been playing Armored Core since the beginning. It's no wonder it's simple to you. And for all those who've been playing Armored Core since the beginning, yeah, this game wasn't too hard to get shifted into. That's because we're Armored Core players in the first place. You know how hard it was for a lot of people to get to the old school L2, R2, L1, L2, you know, control scheme in the old PS2 era. Yeah, it was rough for those people. They couldn't play it. Armored Core 6 is not as hard as that, I would definitely say. Doesn't change the fact that it's still the case. So yes, please, you find yourself going down a downward spiral of issues, take a break and come back to it later. You'll probably play better. And number 1, find your own path. Play what you're best at. Now this may sound pretty similar to a video I've made before. The video I made before was how to start enjoying and stop raging in Armored Core 6. This is kind of a rehash, but a little more in-depth analysis on this. So, as I mentioned before a little in the video, I got S rank on both teams and singles again this season like I did last season. And once again, it was done on wheelchair. Up on the screen here, you're going to see the people that I went against in order to get those victories. It wasn't a whole bunch of easy matches. It was against other S ranks, including people running Zim Shield, which is a very strong build archetype in this game. It had one double Wurger Shield, had a super heavy tank that was much heavier than my wheelchair, and I managed to get into S rank in singles using this build. This is the build I use, this wheelchair. Everyone pretty much knows, and everyone pretty much says, everyone I talk to, that they have a hard time dealing with the wheelchair movement or the tank movement in general, including the boat. And the wheelchair's been nerfed, I think 4 times now since the beginning of the game. Everyone pretty much agree that it's not a good leg. Problem is, of my 320 hours, I'd say close to 300 of that has been on wheelchairs. Since I've unlocked them, I've pretty much not stopped using them. I love the wheelchair legs. I just think they're fun, which is why I've used them from the beginning. And I managed to take a double bazooka, double LCD wheelchair into the victory line. And that's a very strong build. And I'm not gonna say it's not unstrong. I said logistics are good weapons, LCDs are great weapons, although I don't usually use them charged. I like them uncharged for the most part. And it works for me. And I can tell you, I have struggled to use some of these meta builds, and that's kind of what the discussion I want to have with number 1 here. So many people are so stuck on the meta conversation. They're so stuck, well, I got to use this setup, I got to use this build, I got to use these things. Like, no. I'll be the first person to admit, one of the single most popular builds in rank right now is lamb kites or lamb rats. And this build struggles against that. That's part of the reason why the frame changed halfway through ranked, is I had to lighten it up to be a little bit faster so I could catch them better. And even then I have to purge one of my LCDs to catch them properly. So I adjusted accordingly, but I still got to play the game I wanted to play it. And I think that's kind of where it comes from here. You need to find what you enjoy. You need to find what weapons, what leg types, what builds you like playing. For Pete's sake, I've seen people who actually got to S rank using pure melee. No weapons at all, other than melee weapons. Just 2 blades or a hammer or something like that. They actually got an S rank with those things, using no other extra weapons. I've seen people do all kinds of stuff. You have Takafumi looks using his boat. And he's one of the higher end rank ones people are right now. There's ways to make the game builds that are non-meta work for you because they work for you. You don't want me using double Zim Shield. I'd be terrible at it. I'd be terrible at Lamb Rat. I'd be terrible at a lot of these builds because there's just not what I'm used to. It's not what I like to play. It's not where my brain fits into this game. The wheelchair, for some reason, just does. And so with that being the case, I will probably be wheelchair warrior for life in this game unless something very drastic changes, which I hope it doesn't. Please don't do that but that's just the truth of it. You need to find your own path. Try out different weapons, try out different frame parts, try out different legs. Do what you think finds fitting for you. That doesn't mean there isn't some really strong parts of this game that you might want to look at. There are some very strong things. Like I said, Majestics are good, LCDs are good. There's still other things in this game that are still pretty powerful. But what's really powerful in this game is your ability to make your AC work. There's always been meta builds and meta parts throughout AC's history. That being the case, that doesn't matter. If people talk a lot about Oliver from the West Coast scene could go in with just a Kurosawa and win tournaments. You know, Kurosawa was strong. Of course it was. Was it strong enough where you could just use a single Kurosawa and win? Well, apparently you could with him, but I don't really see much of anyone else really replicating that style very much. I think I met 1 or 2 other people who could kind of do that, but that was it. That was very strong for them. That would not be considered meta for most people, just running a single Kurosawa and that's it. But they made it work because why? It fit for them. They liked it. And I think that needs to be the case in Armored Core 6. I think there's a lot of people here who see builds, they watch YouTube videos, they look at Reddit posts, and they see these meta builds that they're using. I'll use quotes at this point, even though they kind of are. But in all reality, what they are crutches for a lot of people. I think too many people have gotten stuck in this mentality, and it's a bad mentality to get into. We haven't seen the masses really kind of attach themselves to this mentality in Armored Core. Armored Core 6 by far is the most popular Armored Core they've ever had. It's not even remotely close by sales numbers. Where a lot of the niches in Armored Core where people hashed out parts that were good and not good and got into really nitty gritty details between weight versus energy versus damage versus ammo cost versus total ammo. I mean, there were some crazily nerdy conversations back in the day with Armored Core, so what parts were good and not for what reasons. Now you've entered the modern era of gaming, which is, oh, I'm gonna start playing this game. What build should I use? And they start Googling or YouTubing, you know, best great sword build and blah blah blah, and instead of just going in and enjoying the game for themselves. And I think it detriments you more in Armored Core than maybe any other game series there is. because you're robbing yourself of the joy of discovering something you just like to use. And maybe you lucked out. Maybe you find a meta build or some pre-done build online that you actually generally love and you go and play. You know what? Great for you. You lucked out. But for a lot of people, you have to unlock these parts. You have to start using them and get a feel for them to really properly understand how you should use them. And that's how I fell in love with Wheelchair and Armored Core 6. I know a lot of people, the movement drives them crazy. I find it fun. And so because of that reason, I use it. That's the reason. I don't use Wheelchair because I think it's busted or broken or powerful. I use it because I just enjoy using these legs. And I think other people had that same mentality and approach to the game and found a mech or a build, an AC that identifies with them, something that they can see and they just enjoy playing as. That goes a huge difference. You could see through the years of the Armored Core community, you could look at certain ACs like, oh yeah, that's so-and-so's kind of AC. Why? Because you know, based on their play style, the kind of builds they would use, because that's the thing they did. They like these kinds of builds. And I don't see that as much in Armored Core 6. There's still some of it, but some people are so stuck on just wanting to rank up or just wanting to get better that they're missing the joy of the game that is finding the AC that fits you. So that's why number one is finding your own path. I think for a lot of you, the reason why you can't make it past this hump of either getting into A rank or finally getting into S rank is because you're so stuck on finding out what you're doing wrong or what you need to do to fix your problem in the game, and you're looking at answers for parts and looking for answers for generators. What you're not looking at is, what do you want to play? What do you enjoy playing? And find a way to make that work. I will say it's the mountaintop as long as I can. You will play better in this game if you're using something you like to use. And I think that holds true for most people. There's a few people, I said, they're rage and hate gamers. They're not the norm though, all right? You and many of the people who are watching this video who are saying, I can't get past, this might be your holdup. Your holdup may be that you just haven't found something that resonates with you properly. And once you do, a light bulb will go off. It's like a switch that gets flipped and suddenly you find yourself doing better. It may be time to start experimenting more with things that are non-meta. Non-meta. So you're just trying to make PvP ranked easy. No, I'm not. Look at my build. It's definitely not. And you will find yourself in a much better spot. And look, and if the worst comes to worst, you don't get the S rank finally, wait till next season. Maybe you'll finally find something you enjoy and you can just kind of take it from that point on. Find your own path in Armored Core. That's always been the case throughout the entire series, is find a way to make the builds you like work. It's way more fun that way, way more satisfying that way more fulfilling that way. And honestly, you probably will do a whole lot better. All right, that's it. There's how not to suck in PvP and Armored Core 6. Honestly, you could say just how not to suck in PvP and Armored Core in general. That the idea is more or less generally fit. I try to stay away from specific parts in setups because I don't want to dictate to people what style of play they should play. I don't want to tell people what parts they should or should not use. I want them to, again, number one, find their own path. But I think the game is more of a mentality approach than anything else. It's your mental space in the game, and as far as that affects how you play. So yeah, this is more mentality based than specifics. I think that actually is what needs to help most people and could help the most people who haven't quite reached that peak and gone across that barrier of difficulty. They haven't quite managed to get past it. There it is. How not to suck at PvP on Armored Core 6. All right. So that's it for this video. Let me know what you think below in the comments. Feel free to like and subscribe, do all those fun things, become a member and support me. Actually, I don't care. Do what you want. It's your money. I'm not going to push and never do. And let me know if you want more of this kind of thing. You want more kind of tips and videos. I do have a couple of videos coming out pretty soon. I want to talk about the FPS thing. We've done some pretty good testing, which is a little bit nutty, what we're finding right now. And some other things as well coming down the pike. So thank you all for spending your time watching my video. This is Cleric signing off.